This would be our third class to understand the expected questions for environment. We have covered higher education and school education in two separate lectures. Now these topics would be somehow relevant for 2017 as well as 2018 upcoming examinations. Now some of the important topics that we would be touching would be mainly the highlights. You need to work around in detail on these topics. The first is the Cain-Betwa interlinking. Now this question is related, this topic is related to interlinking of rivers. So basically what the basic idea is to divert waters from the regions which are flood prone to the regions which are drought prone. So through interlinking, what would happen is the river which is mainly flooding in the regions of say north and northeast of India would divert its water to the region which is a kind of drought prone area. As a result, it would lead to water availability in the region, in the dry areas. So for example, Cain-Betwa interlinking is an example of providing water to the region of Bundelkhand. Now Bundelkhand is a drought prone area. Now this benefits would be propagated mainly to the districts of Jhansi, Banda and Mahoba in Uttar Pradesh, and Chhatrapur, Panna and Tikamgarh in Madhya Pradesh. Now this was again in news because this project got its clearance by the National Board for Wildlife. The major reason was the diversions of water from the Panna Tiger Reserve, and hence Panna Tiger Reserve was also in news. Now again, when we talk about tiger reserves, it's important that you understand the differences between biosphere reserve, sanctuaries and the national parks. We have covered that in our postal course thoroughly. So that is again important. Now next question. China has recently introduced the concept of environmental tax, and that tax talks about the kind of pollution that the company or the industry is producing. Based on that, there would be the taxation chart. Now this taxation would vary from 350 yuan to 11,000 yuan. Yuan is a Chinese currency per month for noise. Then for water pollutants it would be 1.4 yuan. For air pollutants it would be 1.2 yuan, and for each ton of solid waste it would be 5 to 1,000 yuan. Now again, it's important to note China is one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gases, and it's mainly due to the coal that is used for electricity in China. So that is the main cause why China is one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gases. Considering this in view, there is again a satellite that has been released by China in the name of Tansat. We'll understand that in next slides. Now next is ethanol. Now there are two kinds of ethanol that are basically we discuss around. First is the first generation and the second generation ethanol. Now there are differences in two of these. The first generation ethanol is made mainly from sugars and vegetable oils. So it's a kind of extract mainly from the agricultural crops, and it's kind of used mainly for the conventional technology. However, the second generation ethanol is mainly made from lignocellulosic biomass or the woody extract, the agricultural residues or the waste, and it is difficult to generate conventional technology from second generation ethanol. However, India has launched its first second generation ethanol plant at Tarankhawal village in Bathinda, Punjab, and this plant is an initiative by Hindustan Petroleum, that is HPCL. Now next is National Green Tribunal. Information about National Green Tribunal is important. Now this was established by government notification under section 3 of NGT Act 2010, and this is a kind of statutory body. We have talked about how the various bodies function in the class on Niti Aayog, so you can refer that. That would be again a very relevant class for the upcoming NET examination. Now again, National Green Tribunal has recently become very active and has passed numerous laws. One of that is it has provided a ban on burning of waste in open areas, and that brings about a fine of 25,000 for whoever is found burning waste in open areas. Again, in the Sambar Lake region, which is again under a wetland area. This wetland is again conserved under the Ramsar Wetland Convention. This region is a no construction zone, and what has been done is the allotment of salt pens have been cancelled in this area to make this area kind of construction free area. So these two have been one of the important decisions that have been recently taken by NGT, or the National Green Tribunal. Now this tribunal also aims to provide healthy environment to citizens as given under Article 21 of the Constitution, and it handles the cases relating to disposal of waste and environmental issues. Now next is Tencent, as we talked about when we said that China is one of the largest greenhouse gas emitter. Now this satellite has been unique to itself because this is the third country after Japan and United States that have released a satellite to monitor the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. It talks about monitoring the carbon dioxide levels every 16 days. To an extent, the level is 4 parts per million. So this satellite is again an initiative, since China is among the countries which is one of the largest greenhouse gas emitters. Now next is Majuli Island. Majuli Island lies in Assam. Now this island again was in news recently because by 2020 Assam has released a documentation which talks about sustainable action for climate resilience development in Majuli, which talks about developing this area as a carbon neutral district, and this would be, if developed, it would be India's first carbon neutral district by 2020. Now troposphere, when we talk about the various layers of atmosphere, the lowermost layer is troposphere, followed by stratosphere. It's the layer where you have the ozone. Then you have the mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. So exosphere is the outermost layer. Now troposphere usually lies between 7 to 20 kilometers above sea level, and this layer is the layer where you have the maximum weather phenomena that occur. So most of the weather activities, the weather phenomena, the weather changes occur in the tropospheric layers. Now recently there was ammonia that has been detected in the upper tropospheric region, and this was discovered by the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, Germany. This ammonia is mainly attributed to the agricultural emissions, mainly from livestock farming and fertilization. Highest concentration of ammonia was found in North India and Southeast China. So these two were the major belts of India and China, the Indo-China region basically, where you have the highest concentration of ammonia in the upper troposphere layer. Now next is the Kigali meeting. Now Kigali meeting talked about the hydrofluorocarbons and the list of chemicals that release hydrofluorocarbons, and that list has been propounded under the Montreal Protocol. We have covered the complete class on Montreal Protocol, so Montreal Protocol could be referred in the separate lecture. Now what India has done is, India has set two levels. The first is the baseline years and next is the freeze years. So the baseline years extend for 2024 to 2030 and the subsequent years have been considered as the freeze years. Now these two sets have been agreed by the various developing nations. India along with 9 countries have followed this as the step method to curb the HFC productions, and under the HFC, the hydrofluorocarbon production, it has been a 4-step production. That means by 2032 there would be 10% reduction, by 2037 20% reduction, by 2042 30%, and by 2047 it would be around 85% reduction in the cumulative amount of hydrofluorocarbons that are released into the atmosphere. Now the highest production of hydrofluorocarbon comes from China, which is followed by South Africa and then Brazil. So these 3 countries lead in the production of hydrofluorocarbons, and nowadays there have been a recent effort that has been released under the Kigali meeting is the incentivization that has been given for improvement in energy efficiency devices to be used. mainly for the case of refrigeration and the related technology where there has been a high use of hydrofluorocarbons. Now next is the IUCN Red Data List. Now this Red Data List talks about the various species and the various level in which they are threatened. So you have the extinct, which is no more in existence, for example dodo birds. Then you have extinct in the wild, that means they can survive if they are in captivity, but in wild they no more exist. You have critically endangered species, then you have the endangered species like snow leopard, then you have red panda, you have vulnerable species which are at the verge of endangerment. You have near threatened, then you have the least concerned species which are at the lowest risk which are abundantly found. Some of the species you do not have sufficient data and some of the species have not been evaluated. So these are the basic categories under the red list that has been given by IUCN. Now Northeast India has recently come into news with numerous kind of endemic species, both in case of flora and fauna, and some of those are critically endangered. Now next is India's nationally determined contribution. Now again this is an important concept. India by 2022 targets to generate 175 gigawatt of renewable energy. Now this generation basically follows 5 principles. The first is a sustainable lifestyle, increasing the carbon sink, that is increasing the forest cover in India, reducing the emission intensity of the GDP, providing economic development not at the cost of environment, and finally the share of non-fossil fuel based electricity, that is again I could directly or indirectly say energy sources deriving from renewable sources of energy. Now to work around this, there has been 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide carbon sink that has been created by generating more of trees and more of reforestation activities that have been done, and this has been assumed by 2030. Again it talks about reduction in the production intensity of GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030. So these are the India's determined goals for environmental protection, or I could say when we talk about the carbon laws and the carbon trading, that is what is the India's contribution and India's target by 2030, and we will be covering these in detail in the further 2 lectures. Now here are some of the important issues that you must work around when you are working for the upcoming NET examination. The Kasturi Ranjan Committee and the Gadgil Committee, both of these mainly focusing on the Western Ghats and the protecting the endemic nature of the Western Ghats in India. So you have the border of Gujarat and you have the Western Ghats towards the region of Maharashtra and Karnataka on the western border. So Kasturi Ranjan and Gadgil Committee works on Western Ghats. Then you have the interlinking of river, we have already talked about. The COP22 to UNFCCC, that is the Convention on Climate Change. The recent the Marrakesh Proclamation for Climate Change and Sustainable Development, we have covered this in a separate YouTube lecture. You must cover that. Then the Doha Amendments to the Kyoto Protocol, again covered in a separate lecture. Now some of the geographically important topics are the Sagarmala Yojana. We have the links, the relevant links for each of these where we have covered these topics. So the Sagarmala Yojana is mainly about the development of the port and the coastal areas. Then you have the smart city projects. Already you have numerous cities which have been demarcated as smart cities and development has all the way started. Then you have the Sauni Yojana. Sauni Yojana talks about the development of the Kathiawar region or the arid areas of the region of Gujarat. Again you have the diversion of water that is taking place here. The next important is the International Solar Alliance. This talks about the 121 countries which lie in the tropical belt. Now this is an association which was initiated by Indian Prime Minister and France President. You have the idea basically since they are solar rich belts, these areas receive numerous sunlight As a result, the enormous sunlight can be used, and that can be used by means of solar panels, solar heating, solar water heaters. You have the parabolic and the various kind of electricity generation by solar means, solar photovoltaic cells. So all those would fall under the International Solar Alliance meeting. And finally, Uttarakhand has recently launched the glacier tax, that is the ban on the construction activities. It has brought about complete ban on the construction activities in and around the area surrounding the glaciers. Now here are some of the important topics which are recent and which have been covered in our lectures. So one is the greenhouse gases and the global warming. Then you have the ozone depletion and the Montreal Protocol, the class on carbon trading, Kyoto Protocol and Doha amendments, the COP22, the recent declaration in Marrakesh Action Proclamation, the November 2016 declaration. So all this have been covered, and there would be two topics that we will be covering in the next lectures, that would be related to energy independence by 2030 and the renewable energy scenario in India. So what are the major sources of renewable energy, how India has been developing in various fronts, and what are the targets it aim to achieve by 2022. So these would be covered in the upcoming classes. You can subscribe to our lectures for more topics that we would be covering related to NET paper 1 before 22nd January. Have a good day ahead.